Chapter 725. Xia Jiqing was very depressed. From the beginning, she knew that it was impossible for her to enter the finals with her strength. Since she knew that her opponent in the first round was Lu Jingqi, she couldn't help but feel a little lucky. If she could use ordinary means to get rid of Lu Jingqi and advance to the second round, then she could use the fire dance whip in the second round to help her teammates clear an obstacle. Now they were a team, and all she did was to hope that the team could go further. However, her wishful thinking did not succeed in the end, and she wasted an excellent opportunity. Bailey Hongzhuang patted Xia Jiqing's shoulder and said, "You are already very good, don't think too much." Xia Jiqing nodded and smiled at Bailey Hongzhuang, but this smile was always with a bit of disappointment. "Jiqing, I will help you with acupuncture, maybe it can improve a little," Bailey Hongzhuang said slowly. Using acupuncture, she could stimulate the meridians and cells in Jiqing's body, helping Jiqing absorb the qi recovery pill at the fastest speed. In this way, it may help Xia Jiqing recover. Hearing this, Xia Jiqing couldn't help but be startled. Will this method work? Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. If I say it will work, naturally it will work. Don't forget who I am. Xia Jiqing's eyes lit up. Hongzhuang was a famous doctor. Hongzhuang, you are the hope of our Kanglan College to enter the finals. Using acupuncture will consume mental power, are you sure? Zhang Yunfeng's eyes were full of worry. If possible, she naturally hoped that Xia Jiqing could recover her strength, but if this affected Hongzhuang's performance, it would not be a good thing. Xia Jiqing also quickly said, "Yunfeng is right, Hongzhuang, you don't have to help me, you are the most important." It was not a pity that she failed, but if it dragged Hongzhuang down, then she would be a sinner. Bailey Hongzhuang waved her hand. "Don't worry, this is just stimulating the meridians, not detoxifying or curing. It is not so complicated, and it will not take much energy." "Hongzhuang, is what you said true?" Xia Jiqing asked uncertainly. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and nodded. "Of course it is true, why would I lie to you about this kind of thing?" Xia Jiqing couldn't help but look at Zhang Yunfeng, and Zhang Yunfeng also nodded. Since Hongzhuang said it's okay, then we might as well try it. In the next moment, Bailey Hongzhuang directly took out a silver needle. Her body's spirit power surged as she slowly poured it into the needle, steadily and accurately piercing it into Xia Jiqing's acupuncture point. This was the first time that Xia Jiqing had experienced acupuncture. Originally, she thought that such a long needle would be very painful, but after Hongzhuang inserted the needle, she did not feel the slightest pain. She only felt a soreness at the place where the silver needle was inserted, but she felt very comfortable. Bailey Hongzhuang directly took out a white porcelain bottle and handed it to Xia Jiqing, saying, "There are qi-returning pills inside, take 2 first." If Xia Jiqing relied on cultivation to restore her qi, an hour was certainly not enough, so the qi-returning pills were particularly important. Xia Jiqing looked at the whole bottle of qi-returning pills in her hand, and her heart was filled with emotion. Chapter 726. Looking at Hongzhuang's indifferent look, even a royal princess couldn't be so extravagant, right? In fact, after Nangong Yur saw Bailey Hongzhuang's move, there was a strange color in her eyes. She naturally had no problem taking out a whole bottle of qi recovery pills, but it was too wasteful to give it to others. "Lu Jinglin, do you know what Bailey Hongzhuang is doing?" Lu Jingqi had fainted, so Nangong Yur's eyes fell on Lu Jinglin. In her opinion, the two sisters were the same. Lu Jinglin shook her head slightly. "It's just a claptrap. Bailey Hongzhuang likes to be the focus of everyone's attention at any time." Hearing this, Nangong Yur looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with a hint of disgust. She originally didn't have a good impression of Bailey Hongzhuang, and now she was even more disgusted. "Oh, Bailey Hongzhuang, you don't want to help Xia Jiqing restore her fighting strength, do you?" Xue Haolang looked at Bailey Hongzhuang sarcastically. Everyone knew that Xia Jiqing was exhausted, and it was impossible to restore her strength in a short time. Although this 2-hour break was short, it would be of great help to them. Bailey Hongzhuang spent this time on Xia Jiqing. Wasn't she looking for trouble? Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at Xue Haolang and said lazily, "Congratulations, you got it right." Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang directly affirm his judgment, Xue Haolang was also stunned, and then laughed. "You really like to play a generous and selfless drama. Previously, you gave the inscription of Wubao Pavilion to your teammates, and now you are wasting your energy to save a useless teammate. If the cultivators of Kanglan College are so soft-hearted, I think you might as well give up the competition." Xue Haolang disliked Bailey Hongzhuang very much. At this time, the most important thing was to restore oneself to peak condition. Bailey Hongzhuang's action was tantamount to going for wool and coming home shorn. However, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't be bothered with Xue Haolang. Towards a selfish guy like him, he never cared about the team's interest. Right now, they were fighting for the academy, not relying on their own strength. If all the cultivators of the Kanglan school failed in the first round and only one person advanced to the end, what was the use? Xue Haolang, in my opinion, you and the Lu sisters are not an ordinary match. Xia Jiqing's eyes flashed with anger and displeasure. Don't pursue Lu Jinglin, just be the eldest sister of the Lu family. This character of yours is exactly the same as the two sisters of the Lu family. If anyone dared to mock them, Xia Jiqing would definitely be the first to fight back. Lu Jinglin and her sister were fine, but now Lu Jingqi was knocked out by her. Her ears were finally quiet, but Xue Haolang appeared again. Wasn't he looking for trouble? Listening to Xia Jiqing's words, Xue Haolang's face was ugly. For a man, what was the most unbearable comment? That was others saying that he was not a man. Xia Jiqing said it, it was really unbearable. Xia Jiqing, you are a waste that can only drag your teammates down. What other skills do you have besides having a strong mouth? Xue Haolang said coldly. Chapter 727. With just a simple sentence, Xia Jiqing won the battle of words. A loser was a loser, at least she successfully advanced to the second round. Compared to Lu Jingqi, who was defeated by her, she was a lot stronger. Lu Jinglin was annoyed Jingqi had fainted. Even if she took the pill, she still had not woken up. Now, Xia Jiqing was trying to drag Jingqi into this matter. It was really hateful. The Kanglan College has lost twice in a row. This time, they are getting more and more unconventional. They are playing to the gallery. Nangong Xiujia's eyes fell on Bailey Hongzhuang. For Bailey Hongzhuang, he did not have the same admiration as before. This woman was definitely not a simple character. Just her and Mo Yunjue's identity was not simple, not to mention she defeated Lu Jinglin in one move. According to the information they had, Bailey Hongzhuang was also a cultivator who broke through to the innate realm. Bailey Hongzhuang did not have a powerful background, she was just an ordinary person, but she was able to break through to the innate realm at such an age. This was a very great talent. Even he could not break through to the innate realm at the same age as Bailey Hongzhuang. It was best for this woman to fail as soon as possible. Seeing that Nangong Xiujia took the initiative to find trouble, Bailey Hongzhuang continued to help Xia Jiqing with acupuncture and sneered. The temperament of the royal family has never changed. As soon as these words came out, Nangong Xiujia's face turned ugly. He thought that Bailey Hongzhuang would be worried about his identity as a prince and would not say this here. He did not think that Bailey Hongzhuang's idea was different. Not only did she not restrain herself, she even said it out loud. A slightly strange gaze fell on Nangong Xiujia. They had a certain understanding of the dissolute nature of the two princes. Looking at the posture of Nangong Xiujia and Bailey Hongzhuang, did something happen between the two of them that they did not know about? As soon as they thought of Bailey Hongzhuang's stunning beauty, they vaguely understood something. Otherwise, with Nangong Xiujia's character, how could he come directly to Bailey Hongzhuang if there was no previous conflict? Bailey Hongzhuang, you'd better pray that you don't meet me in the next competition, otherwise, you will die a very ugly death. Nangong Xiujia's eyes flashed with a fierce light and his words were full of threats. He didn't have the slightest interest in a married woman. Bailey Hongzhuang had already provoked his anger. He must teach Bailey Hongzhuang a lesson. You'd better pray that you don't meet me. Bailey Hongzhuang's voice was slightly cold, and her dark and bright phoenix eyes were filled with cold light. She also did not have a good impression of Nangong Xiujia. She was never afraid of a head-on confrontation. Originally, she was just too lazy to pay attention to these provocations, but since they came to Lingyin College, these people's provocations and sarcasm had never stopped. It was as if she was afraid of them if she ignored them. In this case, she would show her strong side. No matter how strong the opponent was, she would explode all the way. Chapter 728. Nangong Xiujia only felt that it was very funny. This Bailey Hongzhuang really thought of herself as a big shot. With her innate cultivation, it was naturally easy to deal with cultivators below the innate level. If it was him, he could also deal with Lu Jinglin in one move. Wasn't Bailey Hongzhuang a bit too arrogant at the moment? It was just a little bit of ability. Did she really think that she was so great? Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang, Nangong Xiujia was too lazy to pay attention to her. One sentence was enough. If he was long-winded, he would become the same as Shui Haolang. Bailey Hongzhuang helped Xia Jiqing with acupuncture, while Xia Jiqing was constantly swallowing the energy recovery pills. In this process, Xia Jiqing was surprised to find that the feeling of exhaustion in her body had gradually dissipated. It was as if every meridian and every cell in her body was greedily absorbing the energy contained in the qi recovery pill. Xia Jiqing's eyes were getting brighter and brighter. She admired Bailey Hongzhuang more and more. Hongzhuang's acupuncture technique was really amazing. After Bailey Hongzhuang took back the silver needles, Zhang Yunfeng and the others came to the side of Bailey Hongzhuang and said, "Jiqing, how do you feel?" "I have recovered. The previous feeling of exhaustion has disappeared." Xia Jiqing's face was full of excitement. Her whole body was jumping up and down, using her actions to prove her current physical condition. Looking at this scene, Zhang Yunfeng and the others all had a happy smile on their faces. They did not expect that in less than half an hour, Xia Jiqing had recovered to this point. It was a great thing for the next competition. On the other hand, the cultivators of Lingyin College and Beihai College were also stunned at the moment. Xia Jiqing's relaxed appearance was obviously not fake. It was not that they had never experienced the feeling of exhaustion. After the real exhaustion, the body would fall into extreme fatigue and it would be very difficult to move. The situation of Xia Jiqing in front of them was simply beyond the scope of exhaustion. It was hard to imagine how Xia Jiqing could recover in such a short time. "How is this possible?" Lu Jinglin exclaimed. All of them believed that Xia Jiqing could not recover successfully, but the situation in front of them made them unable to refute. Shui Haolang's expression turned even uglier. He had previously mocked Bailey Hongzhuang for doing useless things, but from the looks of the current situation, how could Bailey Hongzhuang be doing useless things? She had clearly helped Songlan College recover a fighting strength. How did Bailey Hongzhuang do it? Shui Haolang looked as if he had seen a ghost. All this time, he only knew that there was no way to treat exhaustion. The only way was to let the cultivator recover on their own, but it would take a long time. But now that this scene had happened in front of them, they still couldn't understand how Bailey Hongzhuang did it. Xiaolanmei's eyes fell on Bailey Hongzhuang's body. This Bailey Hongzhuang, since the first time they met, had already shown her extraordinariness. With today's contact, he only felt that Bailey Hongzhuang was getting more and more complicated. That silver needle. It seemed to be very similar to a method passed down by doctors. Nangong Xiujia and Nangong Yujin looked at each other. This was a very amazing method. Chapter 729. The eyes of the onlookers were also locked on Bailey Hongzhuang. They still had a good impression of Bailey Hongzhuang. Even if Bailey Hongzhuang was a student of the Kanglan College, she had successfully defeated the cultivator with a simple blow and successfully showed her strength. Miss Bailey from the Kanglan College is so powerful. What kind of great method is this? It can even cure this exhaustion? I don't know, I have never heard of it, but it is really powerful. I think this time the Kanglan College is likely to be a big dark horse. Lingyin College is still the strongest. Bailey Hongzhuang has offended the second prince. She will definitely not have a good end. The students of the Lingyin College immediately began to refute after hearing such remarks. In their hearts, the prince was not allowed to be slandered. Bailey Hongzhuang dared to offend the prince in public. This was definitely courting death. On the high platform, Jian Qingqiu looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with a strange expression. This was also beyond his expectations. Old Huan, what Bailey Hongzhuang just used, was it acupuncture? As the principal of the Lingyin College, Jian Qingqiu had seen a lot of things. Although the art of acupuncture had been lost for many years, he still remembered it as a highly sought-after method in medicine. Acupuncture has been lost for many years. How could it appear in the hands of a little girl? Without waiting for Huan Chuyu to answer, Song Hongxi had already taken the lead to speak. His face was full of disbelief. What a joke! Acupuncture and moxibustion was a method that many famous doctors had not mastered. It had long disappeared in the annals of history. Bailey Hongzhuang was just a cultivator, not a professional medical student. How could she master such a great method? Hearing this, Jian Qingqiu's eyes changed a bit. Could it be that he was really thinking too much? Although he also felt that this conjecture was a bit ridiculous, Bailey Hongzhuang's method really looked like the lost acupuncture. The next moment, under the stunned eyes of Jian Qingqiu and Song Hongxi, Huan Chuyu slowly nodded. Yes, it is acupuncture. Principal Jian has good eyesight. As the voice of Huan Chuyu fell, Jian Qingqiu and Song Hongxi both had an unspeakable shock in their hearts. The Kanglan College really broke out this time. The strength of the students was really much stronger than before. It was said that in this team, Bailey Hongzhuang and Xia Jiqing were both first-year students. When they first heard about it, they only thought that the Azure Water School was getting worse year after year. Their talents had withered, and they even sent out first-year students. But looking at the current situation, Bailey Hongzhuang and Xia Jiqing had successfully advanced to the next round. It could be seen that the strength of the first-year students was much stronger than they had imagined. Old Huan Chuyu, are you kidding? How? Looking at Song Hongxi's probing and suspicious gaze, Huan Chuyu felt a burst of pride. Over the years, Song Hongxi has been ridiculing them for having too many people. Now, Song Hongxi finally showed such an expression. You don't know this. Bailey Hongzhuang is not only a cultivator, she is also a real doctor. Chapter 730. Huan Chuyu smiled very brightly. Bailey Hongzhuang was really the pride of the Kanglan College. Even he couldn't help but marvel at Bailey Hongzhuang's achievements. She could have such strength at such a young age. Her future was really limitless. Jian Qingqiu and Song Hongxi looked at each other. Although Huan Chuyu's smile was very annoying in their eyes, this result still surprised them both. The Kanglan College really can't judge a book by its cover. The students really have many aspects of development. Jian Qingqiu smiled faintly. There was still some disdain in his heart. This kind of thing looked very prestigious, but as the principal, he knew very well how bad it was for a cultivator to do two things at once. Cultivation was a very time-consuming and energy-consuming thing. If you also had to take care of other things at this time, perhaps it was not obvious in the early stages of cultivation. But later on, the gap would become bigger and bigger, which was not a good thing at all. Huan Chuyu also heard the disdain in Jian Qingqiu's words. In fact, he also had this idea at the beginning. However, now that he saw Bailey Hongzhuang's progress, he felt that his previous judgment was wrong. In this world, there were some geniuses who couldn't be measured by common sense. After Xia Jiqing recovered, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others gathered together. The second round of the promotion competition was also very important. They had to be prepared. When I fought with Xue Haolang before, I was completely defeated by Xue Haolang's inscriptions. Cui Haoyan's face was full of resentment. His strength was not weaker than Xue Haolang, but Xue Haolang's weapon inscriptions were very powerful. It was because of this disadvantage that he lost to Xue Haolang. If it was only because his strength was not enough and he lost, then it was fine. But it was because of external reasons that he lost, which made him very angry. Inscriptions. Gong Shaoqing frowned slightly. It seems that Xue Haolang bought inscriptions from Wubao Pavilion. His weapon was also blessed with inscriptions, but in the first round of the promotion competition, he did not use the inscriptions. Shaoqing is right. Xue Haolang has always been rich and overbearing. It's not strange for him to buy an inscription from Wubao Pavilion. Dongfang Yu nodded slightly. Then what is the effect of Xue Haolang's inscription? That inscription has a flame effect and is very lethal. If you are not careful, you may be burned by it. If you encounter it, you must be more careful. Hearing this, Xia Jiqing couldn't help but frown. The inscriptions we saw in the Wubao Pavilion that day did not have a fire attribute inscription. The whip technique she inherited in the ruins was of the fire attribute, so she paid a lot of attention to the inscriptions of the fire attribute. Just like her character, she was very energetic. That day in the Wubao Pavilion, she searched for a long time but did not find any fire attribute inscriptions, so she chose to give up. She did not expect Xue Haolang to find a fire attribute inscription in the Wubao Pavilion. Maybe it was put in later. Zhang Yunfeng frowned. This was not impossible. While Zhang Yunfeng and others were guessing, Xue Haolang was also showing off his inscriptions to the cultivators of Beihai College. Haha, I didn't expect my inscription to be so powerful. Chapter 731. As Xue Haolang's voice fell, the cultivators of Beihai College all looked at Xue Haolang. Previously, they were only focused on their own battles and did not notice the situation of Xue Haolang's battle. At this moment, after hearing Xue Haolang's words, they realized that Xue Haolang had actually obtained an inscription. Xue Haolang, where did you get this inscription? Lu Jinglin's face showed some curiosity. Previously, they had not bought an inscription in the Wubao Pavilion. Although they went to the Wubao Pavilion the next day, the price of the inscriptions was really too high. They also understood that the third floor of the Wubao Pavilion was a place for the 3 inscription masters to communicate with each other. As for selling the inscription, it was just a bonus. If Xue Haolang's Qinquan bag was not lost, he could still afford it. But since it was lost, there was nothing he could do. Looking at the curious expression of the crowd, Xue Haolang's smile became more and more proud. Previously, when my elders participated in the auction, they specially bought it for me. I did not expect this inscription to be so useful. Then your inscription should be very expensive, right? The price of the inscription at the auction was the highest. Xue Haolang waved his hand indifferently. It's not expensive, it's nothing at all. My elders bought 3 inscriptions, gave me 1 and gave the other 2 to my brothers. Although Xue Haolang said it was not expensive, no one took it to heart. Who did not know that Xue Haolang was rich? What he said was not expensive did not mean it was really not expensive. Inscriptions have always been very precious, not to mention that Xue Haolang's inscription had such a good effect, its value was definitely not cheap. Feeling the envious look of Lu Jinglin and the others, Xue Haolang also snickered in his heart. In fact, the price of the inscription was really not expensive. After the elders bought it, they did not care too much about it. Giving it to him was just better than nothing. He originally wanted to buy an inscription in the Wubao Pavilion, but he did not expect the price to be too high. He could only give up. Last night, he was thinking about participating in the competition today. Although the effect of the inscription may not be very good after using it, it may be of some help to him. However, after using it today, he found that the inscription was not only a little help, it was a great help. If it weren't for the help of this talisman, he wouldn't have been able to defeat Shui Haoyan so easily. This talisman was truly a powerful weapon. Xiao Lanmei's eyes also fell on the fiery red inscription on Shui Haolang's weapon. He noticed that the amplification effect of this inscription was really powerful. The role of an inscription master was really great. If the strength of two people was not too different, then the inscription could directly affect the final outcome. That Shui Haolang is showing off. Shui Haoyan's eyebrows were full of displeasure. This annoying guy loved to show off. Shui Haolang also noticed Shui Haoyan's angry look. He couldn't help but raise his weapon high with a smug expression. Bumpkin, if you want to blame someone, blame yourself for not being able to afford the inscription. If you could afford it, then perhaps the ending would not be like this, haha. Shui Haolang did not think there was any problem with winning by relying on inscriptions. After all, wealth was also a part of strength. Chapter 732. Shui Haoyan was enraged when he saw Shui Haolang's smug look. This was the first time he had met such a shameless fellow. However, he had to admit that Shui Haolang's words were not without reason. It was precisely because he did not have sufficient financial resources that he had lost to Shui Haolang in this aspect. If he had Shui Haolang's financial resources, perhaps the outcome of this competition would have been different. Unfortunately, this was only his imagination. Master, why do I feel that this fellow's inscription looks rather familiar? Xiao Hei's eyes flickered with a puzzled light. It had a vague feeling that it had seen this inscription somewhere before. Suddenly, Xiao Bai's eyes lit up and it exclaimed in shock, Master, isn't this exactly the same as the inscription that you've drawn? Previously, its master had been drawing the same inscription, so it had a very deep impression of it. This pattern was exactly the same as the one that its master had drawn. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang was stunned. It must be a coincidence. She had only auctioned off 3 inscriptions in total, and they had all been auctioned off in Songlan City. How far was North Sea City from Songlan City? The probability of this was simply too small. But Master, that 6-pointed star pattern is exactly the same as the one that you've drawn. Bai Shi had also noticed the totem on Shui Haolang's weapon. When its master had been drawing the inscription, it had been staring at the 6-pointed star pattern. Even if it's a 6-pointed star pattern, it might not have been drawn by me. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. The 6-pointed star pattern was only one of the structures on the inscription paper. Many inscriptions would have such a structure. However, when the pattern was formed at the end, the effect might not be the same. But I feel that it's clearly the same. Xiao Hei's expression was serious. I dare to bet a meal that the inscription was drawn by you, Master. Seeing that Xiao Hei had suddenly become so bold, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes flashed with astonishment. After getting along for so long, she also had a certain understanding of Xiao Hei's character. If she did not have enough confidence, Xiao Hei would definitely not say such a thing. Thinking of this, Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but look at Shui Haolang, who was not far away, and said, Shui Haolang, your inscription is so great, I wonder if you can lend it to me? With Bailey Hongzhuang's voice fell, everyone looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in surprise. This kind of action was not in line with Bailey Hongzhuang's character. Bailey Hongzhuang's words. Xia Jiqing and the others were puzzled. Why was Hongzhuang suddenly interested in Shui Haolang's inscription? According to their understanding, Hongzhuang hated Shui Haolang to the core. Shui Haoyan's heart was secretly thinking. Previously in Wubao Pavilion, it had already been proven that Bailey Hongzhuang had a certain understanding of inscriptions. Was it possible that Hong Zhuang wanted to know more about Shui Haolang's inscription so that she could adopt a strategy? In Cui Haoyan's heart, Bailey Hong Zhuang had never been a person who spoke without thinking. There must be a deep meaning for her to suddenly do this. Shui Haolang, is Bailey Hong Zhuang plotting something? When Lu Jinglin saw this, she could not help but show a touch of worry. Now the team of Beihai College was at a disadvantage. If Bailey Hong Zhuang destroyed Shui Haolang's inscription, then their situation would be even worse. Chapter 733. Shui Haolang looked at Bailey Hong Zhuang with interest, chuckled and said, "Since you want to see it, I will lend it to you, but don't break it." Seeing Shui Haolang so proud, a light smile appeared in Bailey Hong Zhuang's eyes. This guy really liked to show off. "Don't worry, since it is your favorite, I will naturally not damage it," Bailey Hong Zhuang said lightly. Shui Haolang raised his eyebrows and slowly walked in front of Bailey Hong Zhuang. The sword swayed in front of Bailey Hong Zhuang, and the six-pointed star pattern clearly fell into the eyes of Bailey Hong Zhuang. "See?" Shui Haolang smiled, "but I guess you can't understand it." However, when Bailey Hong Zhuang saw the pattern clearly, she was speechless. Because this inscription was clearly from her hand, but how could it fall into the hands of Shui Haolang? "Shui Haolang, this inscription was not bought by your family elders in Kanglan City, right?" Bailey Hong Zhuang slowly said. She had already heard Shui Haolang say that this inscription was bought by his elders at the auction. In this case, this inscription was most likely bought in Kanglan City. It was impossible for someone else to buy it in Kanglan City, and then sell it to the auction house, and then fall into the hands of Shui Haolang. The probability of this happening was simply too small. As soon as these words came out, Shui Haolang's expression changed a bit. This news, he did not tell anyone. How did Bailey Hong Zhuang know? On the other side, Lu Huayan and Fu Hongba's eyes fell on Shui Haolang. Bailey Hong Zhuang would not ask this question for no reason, she must have her reasons. However, as a cultivator of Beihai College, Shui Haolang actually appeared in Kanglan City. This was too strange. Looking at Shui Haolang's expression, Bailey Hong Zhuang was sure that her guess was correct. Shui Haolang's elder had gone to Tsanglan City, and shortly before the start of the exchange meeting, it was very likely that he was there to investigate the situation of Tsanglan College. For a long time, she had only thought that the college exchange meeting was a feast at Hongmen. She did not expect that the tentacles of Beihai College had already extended to Kanglan College. This was really too much. Not only Shui Haolang, but even the faces of Lu Jinglin and the others changed. The situation of Kanglan College was never a secret in their eyes. Their purpose was to destroy Kanglan College. However, now that Bailey Hong Zhuang had brought it up, it was a little awkward. The atmosphere became subtle for a moment, and the three teams present were well aware of it. Lu Huayan and Fu Hongba looked at Emo Xinghai with displeasure, while Duan Yingwu felt that Beihai College was getting more and more despicable. Huan Chuyo's face was also ugly. They had already noticed the movements of Beihai College before, but they did not expect them to send someone this time. Although the biggest enemy of Kanglan College was Lingyin College at least disdained to use such means. On the contrary, Beihai College was like a despicable villain, doing some shameful things that made people feel disgusted. Shui Haolang quickly denied Bailey Hong Zhuang's conjecture. How could this inscription be in a place like Kanglan City, where even birds don't shit? I think you must be mistaken. Chapter 734. However, Shui Haolang's words had successfully provoked the anger of the Tsanglan College's cultivators. What did you say? I think Beihai City is a place where even birds don't shit. Cui Haoyan said coldly. This Shui Haolang really can't say anything good. Shui Haolang said sarcastically, Am I wrong? If Tsanglan City is not a place where even birds don't shit, why can't you guys buy inscriptions there? Shui Haolang's lies were getting smoother and smoother. I'll tell you, I bought this inscription in Beihai City. It's useless to be envious. Hearing this, Cui Haoyan coldly looked at Xue Haolang. In fact, Songlan City really didn't sell inscriptions. Even so, Azure Water City was still an extremely prosperous and affluent city. It was completely different from what Xue Haolang had described as a desolate place. Beihai City is full of trash like you, we don't envy you at all, Xia Jiqing said contemptuously. Xue Haolang looked at Xia Jiqing with disgust. You're so stubborn, don't secretly go to Beihai City to buy inscriptions. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curved into a sarcastic smile. This kind of ordinary inscription, why do we need to spend effort to buy it? As soon as her voice fell, Xue Haolang sneered. Bailey Hongzhuang, isn't it too obvious that you're sour grapes? Since you say it's just an ordinary inscription, take it out if you have the ability. I saw that in your Songlan City team. Except for Gong Shaoqing, who got an inscription in Wubao Pavilion, the others didn't even get one. Xue Haolang was very proud. He had personally tested the effect of this inscription. It had a fire attribute attack power and the effect was excellent. The fire attribute was very explosive and had great lethality. It was very suitable for attacking. The onlookers also felt that Bailey Hongzhuang was boasting shamelessly. Even if it was the most ordinary inscription, it wasn't something that ordinary people could come into contact with. Even some people had never seen a real inscription. Wasn't Bailey Hongzhuang digging a hole for herself by saying such words at this moment? Song Hongxi's eyes were also filled with ridicule. This Bailey Hongzhuang is indeed strong, but it's ridiculous to boast so shamelessly just because she has a little strength. Feeling the ridicule in Song Hongxi's words, Huan Chuyo's gaze also fell on Bailey Hongzhuang. In fact, he didn't understand what Bailey Hongzhuang was trying to do. Could it be that she was angered by Xue Haolang's actions and said such irrational words? However, according to his understanding of Bailey Hongzhuang would not do such an immature thing. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled up slightly. Her delicate and beautiful face was filled with an enchanting and playful smile. Originally, she didn't know the real effect of her inscription, so she took it out for auction. She didn't expect the other party to leave directly after bidding for the inscription. She didn't know much about the effect of the inscription. Since then, although she concentrated on drawing the inscription, she had never used it. Now, Xue Haolang had personally helped her to prove the power of the inscription. She didn't have to worry about it anymore. If I take it out, what will you do? Bailey Hongzhuang asked. Chapter 735. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes lit up. Originally, she just wanted to provoke Xue Haolang. She did not expect that Xue Haolang would dig a hole and bury himself in it. Are you serious about what you said? Of course. Without waiting for Lu Jinglin to stop him, Xue Haolang's words had already blurted out. He did not believe that Bailey Hongzhuang could come up with the exact same inscription. If Bailey Hongzhuang really had it, she would not wait until now to take it out. Seeing that Xue Haolang agreed so quickly, Lu Jinglin's eyes also showed a touch of helplessness. She always felt that Bailey Hongzhuang's sudden change of attitude was a conspiracy. With her understanding of Xue Haolang, this inscription was most likely bought in Kanglan City. Bailey Hongzhuang had always lived in Kanglan City, so it was not impossible. In that case, I will let you see it. The next moment, in the shocked eyes of everyone, Bailey Hongzhuang directly took out a thick stack of inscriptions from her Qiankuan bag. Yes, it was a thick stack. When he saw the same red six-pointed star pattern, Xue Haolang's eyes almost turned black. How was this possible? Are you King kidding me? So many inscriptions, are you selling inscriptions? Even if you are selling inscriptions, you don't need to sell so many of them, right? Xia Jiqing and the others were also dumbfounded. Hongzhuang was going against the heavens. So many inscriptions, how much would it cost? Bailey Hongzhuang took out an inscription and shook it in front of Xue Haolang. Isn't this the inscription you are proud of? As she said, Bailey Hongzhuang casually played with the inscription in her hand and said, I just think that the effect of this inscription is very ordinary. If it is used on a weapon, it will affect the future of the weapon, so I have never used it. I didn't expect you to be so proud of this ordinary inscription. If I don't take it out for you to see, I am afraid that you will not know how vast the world is. Immediately afterward, Bailey Hongzhuang handed the inscriptions one by one to Xia Jiqing and the others. She looked a little helpless. If I had known earlier, I would have given you this inscription earlier. It would have saved some petty people from becoming a laughingstock. In fact, Bailey Hongzhuang did have some regrets. Previously, she had only used this inscription to practice her inscription technique. She did not understand the function of this inscription. If she had known that this would be the result, she would have given the inscription to everyone. At least, Cui Haoyan would not have been defeated by Xue Haolang. Cui Haoyan and the others received the inscriptions from Bailey Hongzhuang in a daze. Their eyes were full of disbelief. For a long time, they knew that Bailey Hongzhuang was a local tyrant when it came to alchemy, but they didn't expect that Bailey Hongzhuang was also a local tyrant when it came to inscriptions. Who had ever seen inscriptions given away for free? In this world, in addition to Bailey Hongzhuang, they were afraid that there was no second person who could do this. The cultivators of Beihai College were greatly impacted. Previously, they had also noticed how much the inscriptions of Xue Haolang had increased, and were very envious. They did not expect that now Bailey Hongzhuang would take out so many inscriptions. Even if it was distributed to everyone in Kanglan College, there would still be a surplus. This was going against the heavens. What kind of weirdo did Kanglan College produce this time? Even if Nangong Xiujie and the others were calm, at this moment, after seeing this situation, they were inevitably stunned. Chapter 736. Nangong Xiujie and Nangong Yujin looked at each other, and their eyes were filled with disbelief. So many inscriptions. Who was this Bailey Hongzhuang? Even if it was the most common inscription, it was impossible for an average person to get so many. Was it possible that Bailey Hongzhuang knew an inscription master? Song Hongxi, who was originally mocking Huan Chuyu, couldn't help but change his expression after seeing this scene. The smug smile on his face had disappeared. Huan Chuyu was also stunned for a moment, and the smile in his eyes gradually widened. This Bailey Hongzhuang really could bring a huge surprise every time she did something. However, there was no inscription master in Kanglan City. How did Bailey Hongzhuang know that Xue Haolang's inscription was bought in Kanglan City? Huan Chuyu's eyes flashed with a light of thought. The inscription master who drew this inscription must have a certain relationship with Bailey Hongzhuang. Otherwise, Bailey Hongzhuang wouldn't have so many inscriptions. Vice Principal Tsang, it seems that you have misjudged her, Huan Chuyu smiled faintly. He was the winner of the game between him and Song Hongxi. Song Hongxi's face was a bit ugly. No one would have thought that Bailey Hongzhuang would do such a thing. With so many inscriptions, it even made people doubt whether this was true or not. It was just that as the vice principal, it was not convenient for him to say too much about this kind of thing. He could only let Huan Chuyu be proud. Jian Qingqiu and Song Hongxi looked at each other. According to the news they had received, Bailey Hongzhuang was the trump card of Kanglan College. Although there had been a promotion competition, Lu Jinglin didn't test Bailey Hongzhuang at all. Now it seemed that this Bailey Hongzhuang was indeed not a simple character. Hongzhuang, you just gave us the inscription directly? Cui Haoyan's face was stunned. Although Bailey Hongzhuang's actions had already explained her thoughts, he still couldn't help but ask. After all, the value of inscriptions was much more expensive than medicinal pills. They couldn't just accept such an expensive item, right? Bailey Hongzhuang nodded gently, her beautiful face rippling with a faint smile. Of course. Hongzhuang, this thing is too precious, we can't, Dongfang Yu slowly said. They definitely couldn't accept such a precious thing. Without waiting for Dongfang Yu to finish speaking, Bailey Hongzhuang interrupted him. We're all good friends, there's no need to be polite. But Dongfang Yu was in a bit of a dilemma. Even if it was an ordinary inscription, it wasn't easy to obtain it. Moreover, the effect of the inscription was so good that they couldn't just accept it. Bailey Hongzhuang waved her hand. This inscription is not worth much, so you don't have to feel burdened. Besides, this inscription will be good for everyone in the upcoming competition. Hearing this, Dongfang Yu nodded silently. For them now, the most important thing was the next competition. As long as they could get better results in the competition, this inscription would play a huge role. Xia Jiqing didn't know what to say at the moment. She could only say that it was really a blessing to be friends with a local tyrant. Zhang Yunfeng and the others looked at the inscription in their hands and were full of gratitude to Bailey Hongzhuang. Chapter 737. However, this scene was not the case in the eyes of the cultivators of Beihai College. Everyone knew that the value of the inscription was not cheap, but Bailey Hongzhuang gave it away so easily. How bold was she? Thinking back to the day when Bailey Hongzhuang did not hesitate to give the inscription of Wubao Pavilion to Gong Shaoqing, they thought that Bailey Hongzhuang was deliberately being generous. Now it seemed that Bailey Hongzhuang was not pretending to be generous, but she did not care at all. Xue Haolang was considered the wealthiest person in their team, but an inscription was enough to make Xue Haolang so proud. Although he said that the inscription was not expensive, but from his performance, the inscription should not be cheap for him. However, when it came to Bailey Hongzhuang, it was given away for free. Comparing the two, one could see the financial gap between the two. It was just like when they were at the inn when a fake local tyrant met a real local tyrant. The situation was like this. My God, I thought the Kanglan College was a poor place. I did not expect the students of the Kanglan College to be so rich. It's good to be Bailey Hongzhuang's teammate. An inscription can be sold for a very high price. That Xue Haolang of Beihai College is really an idiot. It's just an inscription and he has such a look, it's a joke. Everyone was mercilessly ridiculing him. In fact, Xue Haolang's previous appearance had caused many people to be dissatisfied. There should be a limit to showing off, right? It was as if he was the richest person in the world, but now he was slapped in the face by Bailey Hongzhuang. Feeling the eyes of the crowd, Xue Haolang's face was ugly. He really had a hard time. His elders had only bought 3 inscriptions at the auction. Who knew that Bailey Hongzhuang would have so many? What's more, as Bailey Hongzhuang said, the inscription was not expensive. He had not used the inscription before because the price of the inscription was not expensive. He felt that the effect would not be good, but he did not expect the effect to be better than expected. When people asked him about it, he naturally wanted to show off his vanity. That was why the price of the inscription was so good. He didn't expect that all of this was to help Bailey Hongzhuang make her wedding dress. Instead, it made Bailey Hongzhuang look heroic, but made him look very sad. However, he had already shown that the value of the inscription was not cheap. He could not slap his own face now, right? The most important thing, even if he said so now, no one would believe him. He could not understand. If the inscription master who drew the inscription was so skilled, why was the price of the inscription so cheap? Was there anyone in this world who didn't like having too much money? If Bailey Hongzhuang knew what Xue Haolang was thinking at the moment, she would not be able to help but laugh out loud. She had put the inscription up for sale with the mentality of giving it a try. She really did not care about the price. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows, looked at Xue Haolang with a smile, and said casually, I heard that someone wanted to destroy their own weapon? As soon as the voice fell, Xue Haolang's face turned purple. He really did not expect to dig a hole and bury himself. Originally, this was an unsolvable problem. Who would have thought that Bailey Hongzhuang would solve it? Chapter 738. The faces of Xia Jiqing and the others were full of interest. Xue Haolang, why don't you waste your weapon? For Xue Haolang's arrogant appearance, they had long been unaccustomed to it. Now that there was a chance to hit him, they would not let him escape. Cui Haoyan stared at Xue Haolang. This guy had won against him because of the inscription. During this time, he had been ridiculing him, and he had long been unable to bear it. Xue Haolang, weren't you very arrogant before? Are you mute now? Xue Haolang's heart was full of regret. It was not easy for him to get such a good weapon. Once the weapon was destroyed, his combat effectiveness would be weakened. He really regretted what he had said before. Lu Jinglin's face was also a bit ugly. If she could stop it in time, things would not have developed to this point. In this situation, no one could think of a way to deal with it. Xiao Lanmei had an indifferent attitude from beginning to end, as if Xue Haolang was not his teammate. No matter what Xue Haolang did, it had nothing to do with him. Suddenly, Xue Haolang's eyes lit up. He thought of an excellent idea in his mind. His very ugly face suddenly looked better. How can you guarantee that the inscription in your hand is the same as mine? Maybe your inscription only looks similar, but the effect is different. Xue Haolang never believed that Bailey Hongzhuang could directly take out so many inscriptions. The value of inscriptions was extremely high, not to mention so many of the same type of inscriptions. He was afraid that besides the inscription master himself, no one else could take out so many inscriptions of the same type at once. What's more, the inscriptions looked similar in shape, but the effect was fundamentally different. Previously, he was just scared by the inscriptions that Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly took out. At this moment, he realized that he had almost fallen into Bailey Hongzhuang's trap. With Xue Haolang's voice falling, the atmosphere of the scene changed again. As a result, Xue Haolang's statement was not unreasonable. Cui Haoyan and the others could not help but look at Bailey Hongzhuang. They also did not know the specific effect of the inscriptions. However, they had always trusted Bailey Hongzhuang. As long as Bailey Hongzhuang said that the inscriptions were the same as Xue Haolang's, they would believe it. Xue Haolang looked at Bailey Hongzhuang proudly. He wanted to see how Bailey Hongzhuang would continue to pretend. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curved into a faint smile. What if I prove it? She knew that the structure of the inscriptions were the same. The inscriptions of the inscriptions of the inscriptions of the inscriptions, the inscriptions of the inscriptions' inscriptions. Xue Haolang wanted to see Bailey Hongzhuang's flustered appearance, but seeing Bailey Hongzhuang calm down, without the slightest bit of worry, his heart couldn't help but feel a little nervous. Damn it! Ever since he met Bailey Hongzhuang, this woman's actions always gave him an elusive feeling. Usually, he was confident in winning, but when it came to Bailey Hongzhuang, it seemed to be impossible. Could it be that Bailey Hongzhuang was so good at psychological tactics? After suffering a loss, Xue Haolang also learned to be smart and did not continue to speak harshly. Chapter 739. At this time, Xue Haolang is still like this. He really doesn't know how to live. Xiao He said out loud, this kind of guy should be slapped in the face. The more he screams now, the worse he will fall later. Xiao Bai's eyes were filled with a bit of a smile. Her master was good at slapping people's faces. Xue Haolang was born to be slapped. Her master would never be soft on him. For Xue Haolang's performance, Bailey Hongzhuang was not surprised. This guy was just a dead duck. He would not cry until he saw the coffin. In this case, she did not mind proving it to make Xue Haolang completely give up. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded to Cui Haoyan and said with a smile, Cui Haoyan, if you don't mind, you can directly inscribe the weapon. Let Xue Haolang completely give up. Listening to Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Cui Haoyan nodded without hesitation. No problem. Previously, Xue Haolang had ridiculed him in every possible way. He could no longer stand it. Now that there was such an opportunity, he naturally would not miss it. The faces of Xia Jiqing and the others all showed a look of watching a good show. This kind of guy like Xue Haolang was not happy until he was taught a good lesson. Zhang Yunfeng and the others were very calm. Bailey Hongzhuang had never done anything wrong, they were just waiting to see the next good show. This scene could be said to have attracted everyone's attention. Everyone wanted to know whether what Bailey Hongzhuang said was true or not. After seeing this scene, the cultivators of Beihai College could not help but worry. It was originally a time to rest, but now their attention was attracted by the inscription. Bailey Hongzhuang was so confident, it did not seem like she was faking it. If Cui Haoyan really proved that everything Bailey Hongzhuang said was true, by that time, Xue Haolang would really be helpless. Xue Haolang's eyes were fixed on Cui Haoyan's body. It would be a lie to say that he was not nervous. His palms had begun to sweat. Cui Haoyan gave Xue Haolang a provocative look and directly pasted Bailey Hongzhuang's inscription on his weapon. A fiery red light slowly circulated, and the inscription that was originally printed on the inscription paper slowly appeared on the weapon and merged with it. Everyone felt as if the inscriptions were alive. They appeared on the weapons little by little, and the light was shining brightly. At this moment, everyone completely believed that the inscription that Bailey Hongzhuang had taken out was the real inscription, not a fake one. However, he didn't know if Bailey Hongzhuang's inscription had the same effect as Xue Haolang's. It seems that this inscription is real. I think that this inscription is most likely the same as Xue Haolang's. Otherwise, Bailey Hongzhuang would not have taken the initiative to talk about it. If this is true, doesn't it prove that people from Beihai College went to Kanglan City? As soon as these words came out, everyone's expression changed. If all of this was true, then there would be a lot of tricks involved. Just as everyone was thinking about what kind of effect this inscription had, Xue Haolang's face quietly appeared pale. This was because the situation of the inscription mark was exactly the same as the situation of his inscription mark. If not, then these two inscriptions were too similar. Chapter 740. It did not take long for the inscription on Cui Haoyan's weapon to be successfully branded. His eyes could not help but fall on Xue Haolang's body, revealing a little pride. Xue Haolang, let me see if this inscription has the same effect as your inscription. The next moment, Cui Haoyan's body surged and directly converged on the weapon. Then, a scorching temperature spread, and the inscription on the weapon flashed with a fiery red light. Shua! Cui Haoyan's sword burst out, and a fiery red sword burst out, directly shooting a hole in the ground. Seeing this scene, everyone burst into a burst of exclamation. This situation was exactly the same as Xue Haolang's inscription. Wow! The power of this inscription is so strong. It actually has such a flame effect. In this way, with this inscription, it is enough to annoy the opponent for a while. If the two people are equal in strength with this inscription, they can definitely win. Everyone's face was full of shock. This inscription was a great weapon. If they could also have it, then their combat effectiveness could be greatly improved. For a time, everyone was envious of Bailey Hongzhuang's teammates. It was great to be friends with a rich person like Bailey Hongzhuang. However, they did not know Bailey Hongzhuang at all, and this kind of good thing would not fall on their heads. The Lingyin College students who were originally disdainful of Bailey Hongzhuang also changed their eyes at this moment. This kind of friend was simply what everyone wanted. Even Nangong Xiujie and the others who were calm, at this moment, after seeing the effect of Cui Haoyan's attack, there was a touch of shock in their eyes. This inscription was really amazing, and it was very helpful to improve combat effectiveness. However, it was a pity that they and Bailey Hongzhuang were like fire and water. Even if Bailey Hongzhuang had a lot of inscriptions, they could not buy it. Nangong Yuer's face flashed with an unhappy light. What's so great about it? It's just a few inscriptions. The inscriptions of Wubao Pavilion are also very good. Her inscription was obtained from the Wubao Pavilion's inscription master. It was just that she had spent a lot of effort to obtain this inscription. An inscription master was a very honorable existence, and he would not give face to the average person. What's more, the 3 inscription masters of Wubao Pavilion had always liked to study inscriptions. They had no interest in selling inscriptions at all. They would only occasionally put a few inscriptions that they practiced on in Wubao Pavilion for sale. As a princess, she naturally wanted an inscription master to draw the most suitable inscription for her. All of this was thanks to her imperial father, who had helped her prepare a lot of equipment for the inscription master. Only then did the inscription master tailor-made an inscription for her. So far, the inscription had been her pride. Therefore, she didn't care about Bailey Hongzhuang's inscriptions. She only thought that Bailey Hongzhuang was trying to attract attention. Nangong Xiujie and Nangong Yujin looked at each other. Nangong Yu had always been very favored by their imperial father, so she was able to get an inscription master to personally design an inscription. The two of them did not have such good treatment. They originally planned to ask an inscription master to help draw an inscription, but because of Bailey Hongzhuang, their imperial father was furious, and their inscription was naturally ruined. Chapter 741. Cui Haoyan did not expect his weapon to have such an effect after being branded with the inscription. Its power was much stronger than before. This kind of flame effect was really hard to guard against. Other than dodging, it was very troublesome to face it head-on. Faintly, he felt that the effect of this inscription was much stronger than Xue Haolang's inscription. Now, he was full of admiration for Bailey Hongzhuang. He could not imagine how Bailey Hongzhuang did all this. This kind of thing that was difficult for ordinary people became easy for Bailey Hongzhuang. Now, he only felt that when something strange happened to Bailey Hongzhuang, they did not find it so hard to accept. This was because Bailey Hongzhuang was not someone ordinary people could compare to. Just the fact that Bailey Hongzhuang married Di Beichen was already an incredible thing in the eyes of ordinary people. Xue Haolang, it seems that the effect of our inscription is exactly the same. Cui Haoyan's face was filled with a proud and mocking smile. Previously, it was Xue Haolang who had been mocking him. Now, it was finally time for him to fight back. At this moment, Xue Haolang could no longer find any reason to fight back. Everything proved that what Bailey Hongzhuang said was true. But when he thought about destroying his own weapon, it was simply impossible. All his previous efforts were to achieve good results in the inter-school competition. If he destroyed his weapon, what else could he rely on to achieve good results? Bailey Hongzhuang's lips were filled with a faint and charming smile. She said, "A real man cannot go back on his words. Xue Haolang, you won't go back on your words, right? There are so many people here. If you don't fulfill your promise, it will be too embarrassing." Bailey Hongzhuang knew that Xue Haolang was naturally unwilling to destroy his weapon. However, she would never be soft-hearted towards her opponents. Xue Haolang's face turned ugly. Bailey Hongzhuang seemed to have guessed his thoughts. Her words left him with no room to maneuver. Obviously, Bailey Hongzhuang wanted to force him to destroy his weapon. Once his weapon was destroyed, it would not be easy for him to advance to the next round. What was the difference between that and giving up? Without looking away, Xue Haolang's gaze scanned the crowd. It was too difficult to make a choice. "Xue Haolang, you can't be all talk and no action, right? Then I'll look down on you." At this time, Xia Jiqing naturally did not mind adding insult to injury. Xue Haolang was like a rat crossing the street. Everyone wanted to beat him up. Now that she finally had the chance to humiliate him, she naturally wouldn't miss it. After seeing this scene, Song Hongxi only felt that Xue Haolang was really an idiot. Most people wouldn't do something like digging a hole for themselves. He didn't understand why Xue Haolang would say something like destroying his weapon. Now it could be said that he was in a dilemma. Even he had no choice. After a long while, Xue Haolang seemed to have made a huge decision. He said, "Previously you deliberately led me to be fooled. It's impossible for me to destroy my weapon." He had made up his mind. If he didn't destroy his weapon, what could Bailey Hongzhuang and others do? Chapter 742. When Xue Haolang shamelessly said this sentence, the onlookers were also stunned. Wasn't his skin a little too thick? Such shameless words, Xue Haolang can still say it so confidently. This kind of psychological quality is really not comparable to ordinary people. Damn. Cui Haoyan was not angry but laughed, looking at Xue Haolang speechlessly. Xue Haolang, are you a man? Xue Haolang's face was ugly. At this moment, no matter what he said, it would only lead to the contempt of the crowd. It was better to say nothing. The next moment, Xue Haolang walked directly back to his resting place. He had decided that before the end of the college tournament, he would pretend that he didn't hear anything. This Xue Haolang is really shameless. I didn't expect Beihai College to have such a talent. Previously I only heard that Kanglan College was not good. Now it seems that the cultivators of Beihai College are the dregs. Not to mention anything else, just this way of life. The cultivators of Beihai College are bad enough. Everyone was speechless. They did not understand how Xue Haolang had the cheek to say such a thing. If it were them, they would not have the face to continue to stay here. But Xue Haolang acted as if nothing had happened. Cui Haoyan was even more annoyed. This guy is too shameless. I must make him destroy his weapon. Seeing Cui Haoyan's action, Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but stop him and said, Cui Haoyan, don't worry. Xue Haolang has made up his mind. Even if you force him to destroy his weapon, he will not do so. What's more, you can't continue to participate in the next competition. If Xue Haolang says that you deliberately destroyed his next competition, I am afraid it will be very troublesome. Bailey Hongzhuang looked indifferent. For a guy like Xue Haolang who had no bottom line, it was very likely that he would do such a thing. Hearing this, Cui Haoyan could not help but frown. Are we going to let Xue Haolang act like a rogue? Bailey Hongzhuang waved her hand. His heart is already in a mess. It will be difficult for him to get a good result in the upcoming competition. He has already ruined his own reputation by doing this. Compared to destroying his weapon, this might be better. If Xue Haolang had decisively destroyed his weapon just now, everyone would still respect him as a man and think highly of him. However, his current actions had already proven that he was a truly despicable person. Naturally, everyone despised him. Thinking about it, Xue Haolang must be feeling terrible right now. If they were to stir up trouble again, they would only bring trouble to themselves. Why not just let Xue Haolang go like this? That would make them seem magnanimous. Hongzhuang is right. Cui Haoyan, don't take it to heart. Gong Shaoqing spoke slowly, but his admiration for Bailey Hongzhuang grew. This woman was truly not someone ordinary women could compare to. Regardless of whether it was her strength or her wisdom, she was far superior to ordinary people. Even with such a disadvantage, after hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, he felt as if he had a card up his sleeve. How amazing! After hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Cui Haoyan understood and immediately nodded. I understand. Chapter 743. Huan Chuyu looked at Song Hongxi with a smile and said slowly, Vice President Song, your student, his temperament is not good. Now in the college exchange, the students represented the image of the college. Xue Haolang's behavior was tantamount to losing the face of the entire Beihai College. Such an opportunity, Huan Chuyu naturally would not miss it. This was a fatal flaw. Song Hongxi's expression was a bit unnatural. Xue Haolang's behavior was too petty. In any case, Xue Haolang did not deserve the slightest respect. In the face of Huan Chuyu's ridicule, Song Hongxi's heart was also a little angry. He used to laugh at Huan Chuyu. He didn't know when it started, but the situation was reversed. Vice President Huan, if this matter was not set by your students, how could Xue Haolang fall into such a situation? I haven't seen you for 3 years, but the students of Kanglan College have learned a lot of tricks. Seeing that Song Hongxi had directly started to argue, Huan Chuyu was not in a hurry. Instead, a faint smile appeared on his gentle face. Someone has to be stupid enough to do this. His voice fell. Huan Chuyu was too lazy to pay attention to Tsang Hongxi. This old guy had always liked to push the responsibility to others. It had been like this over the years, and he had already known the temperament of the other party. Tsang Hongxi was speechless. Huan Chuyu actually said that his students were stupid? Just as Tsang Hongxi was about to have a good argument with Huan Chuyu, Jian Qingqiu looked at him and directly blocked the words he was about to say. Jian Qingqiu was in a very bad mood. Originally, this time it should be Kanglan College's face that was swept to the ground. But now, because of the performance of the students of Beihai College, the excellence of Kanglan College was set off. The depression in his heart could be imagined. If something like this happened to the Azure Water School, then he would really be angry. Feeling Jian Qingqiu's gaze, Tsang Hongxi also knew that this matter was completely caused by Beihai College, and did not dare to say more. Lu Huayan and Fu Hongba looked at each other, and there was a smile in their eyes. They had not been so happy for a long time. In the past, Mo Xinghai and Duan Yingwu had always been on top of their head. Now, they could finally hold their heads high. An hour passed quickly, and after an hour of rest, everyone's state had recovered a lot. The second round of the promotion competition begins now. As Jian Qingqiu's voice sounded, Bailey Hongzhuang and other cultivators who had advanced to the second round immediately stood up and slowly looked in the direction of the stage. The second round of the competition will also be conducted by drawing lot. 5 students will come up at random and start drawing lots. Bailey Hongzhuang stayed in place. No matter who the opponent was, she didn't care. Counter soldiers with arms, water with an earth weir. That had always been her principle. Xia Jiqing held the long whip in her hand and her heart was full of excitement. She had already tested it just now. After branding the inscription, the attack power of her long whip was much stronger than before. Soon everyone's Xia Jiqing vs Nangong Yu, Xian Shui, Dongfang Yu vs Nangong Xiujie, Bailey Hongzhuang against Nan Yangzi, Xiao Lanmei against Jin Xingyu. Chapter 744. Fortunately, this time there was no situation where the students of their own school would fight. Now, let's invite Xia Jiqing and Nangong Yu to the stage. Lin Yinghao's face had a faint smile. Nangong Yu's strength was very strong. Although Xia Jiqing's strength was good, she was definitely not Nangong Yu's opponent. Because Nangong Yu had broken through to the innate realm. The second round of the promotion tournament used the method of the second team's match after the first team's match. It was not like the first round of the promotion tournament. Not only that, but the stage used for the second round of the promotion tournament was also much larger than the first round. Jiqing, come on! The cultivators of the Kanglan College cheered for Xia Jiqing. Although they felt that Nangong Yu's strength was very strong, as long as they fought with all their strength, it was enough. Xia Jiqing nodded heavily and said, I will. Nangong Yu's speed was faster than Xia Jiqing's. Her figure jumped directly onto the stage. However, Nangong Yu's next words surprised everyone. Bailey Hongzhuang, come up. As soon as these words came out, everyone's eyes fell on Nangong Yu. They didn't know what Nangong Yu was doing. I want to fight with you. Nangong Yu continued to emphasize her request. She originally hoped that in this second round, she would be able to directly draw Bailey Hongzhuang. She didn't expect her opponent to be Xia Jiqing. With Xia Jiqing's strength, she was not her opponent at all. It was just a waste of time. She couldn't wait to fight with Bailey Hongzhuang. Not for anything else, but because of the ambiguous relationship between Bailey Hongzhuang and Mo Yunjue. For this point, she couldn't let go of Bailey Hongzhuang. Lin Yinghao was also dumbfounded at this moment. What was the third princess doing? Nangong Yu, your opponent is Xia Jiqing. Lin Yinghao emphasized. Nangong Yu was unmoved. I know, but I want to challenge Bailey Hongzhuang. Nonsense. Jian Qingqiu frowned slightly. He always had a certain understanding of Nangong Yu-er's temperament. It was just that the entire Lingyin College relied on the royal family, so he usually turned a blind eye to Nangong Yu-er's character. However, he didn't expect Nangong Yu-er would dare to make trouble in this college exchange tournament. Originally, with Nangong Yu-er's strength, she could definitely enter the next round, but Nangong Yu-er wanted to challenge Bailey Hongzhuang. Nangong Yu-er Lin Yu's-er, Nangong Yu's-er was the Yuan Yulong was in a very bad mood. Because he had blocked the Kanglan school's team outside the school, he had received a certain amount of punishment. He was almost unable to participate in the school exchange. At this moment, he had just arrived at the arena when he heard Nangong Yu-er's request. Although he didn't know why Nangong Yu-er suddenly made such a move as her mentor, he had always been very indulgent. Thinking of this, Nangong Yu-er immediately said, "Principal, this competition is originally random. Since Nangong Yu-er has such a request, as long as Bailey Hongzhuang is willing to accept it, it is not impossible. If Bailey Hongzhuang does not dare to accept it, then it is fine." Chapter 745. Hongzhuang, who is this person? Why are her words so unpleasant? Xia Jiqing frowned. If the other party said this, didn't it mean that if Hongzhuang did not agree, it meant that she was afraid of Nangong Yu-er? This seemed to give Bailey Hongzhuang a choice, but in fact there was no choice at all. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes narrowed slightly, and the light of wisdom gradually flowed. This person should be a teacher of Lingyin College. I heard that we were blocked outside the college because a teacher wanted to give us a show of strength. Now it seems that it is very likely to be this person. Xia Jiqing suddenly realized that she had also heard the news, and it was from the mouth of the practitioners of Beihai College. The other party obviously wanted to use this opportunity to ridicule them, so they also knew the whole story. Jian Qingqiu's face showed a bit of embarrassment. As the principal, he didn't like unexpected things to happen in such a formal occasion. Originally, Nangong Yu-er was just messing around, but Ruan Yulong had said things like this, so he couldn't refuse. After all, Ruan Yulong was a teacher of Kanglan College. Bailey Hongzhuang, do you have the courage to come up? Nangong Yu-er raised her chin slightly, and her eyes were filled with arrogance. Her provocative expression carried an innate arrogance. She was confident that whether it was family background or strength, she was far better than Bailey Hongzhuang. No matter what means Bailey Hongzhuang used to seduce Mo Yunjue, she would not let Bailey Hongzhuang succeed. Is there any conflict between the third princess and Bailey Hongzhuang? Why is she looking for Bailey Hongzhuang? I don't know, maybe good women are born to hate other good women, so she wants to deal with Bailey Hongzhuang. You don't know this, I heard that Bailey Hongzhuang is Mo Yunjue's wife, and the third princess likes Mo Yunjue. Naturally, they are jealous of each other. As one of the insiders revealed the real reason, everyone's eyes were filled with surprise. This was simply too shocking. Really? Of course it's true. I saw young Master Mo call Bailey Hongzhuang his wife in the first tower that day. Compared to Nangong Yu-er's arrogant provocation, Bailey Hongzhuang was still as indifferent as ever. Since the third princess wants to compete with me, I naturally don't mind. Jian Qingqiu couldn't help but look at Huan Chuyo's next to him, with a look of helplessness. Old Huan, what do you think? Huan Chuyo's he looked at Bailey Hongzhuang's, he looked, and said he's. Yu's Jian Qingqiu nodded slightly, and his face looked a little better. Since Bailey Hongzhuang and Nangong Yu both agree, then Bailey Hongzhuang will go to the stage. Xia Jiqing's fourth match will be against Nangong Zhe. Boss, defeat her. Xia Jiqing's eyes flashed with conviction. She was just worried that Nangong Yu would suddenly challenge the boss. She always felt that there was something fishy about this. Hongzhuang, you must be more careful. Zhang Yunfeng and the others spoke out, their eyes filled with worry, but they believed in Bailey Hongzhuang's strength. So far, Bailey Hongzhuang's every performance has amazed them, and this time was no exception. Chapter 746. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly and slowly walked towards the stage under everyone's gaze. Nangong Xiujie and Nangong Yujin looked at each other. It seemed that what Nangong Yujin had said before had deeply stimulated Nangong Yuer. Therefore, Nangong Yuer would do such a wayward thing in this tournament. Yuer's strength is very good. She will be able to easily defeat Bailey Hongzhuang. Nangong Yujin looked indifferent. Nangong Yuer's cultivation talent was something that even he had to praise. Although Nangong Yuer was young, her strength was stronger than her. It was because of this that his father loved her so much. Nangong Xiujie looked at Bailey Hongzhuang's back indifferently. I wanted to deal with Bailey Hongzhuang myself. Now it seems that I don't need to do anything. This group of waste from Kanglan College is not our opponent at all. Even if they entered the second round, it was just luck. Nangong Xiujie's eyes were full of disdain. It was this group of waste that made him lose face in the first tower. It was simply unforgivable. If he knew that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were cultivators from Kanglan College, he would have definitely taught them a lesson. Nangong Yujin nodded in agreement. Although he did not advance to the second round, it was not a problem for him. Xiao Lanmei from Beihai College did have some skills, but he did not care. Bailey Hongzhuang slowly walked onto the stage and stood opposite Nangong Yuer. Nangong Yuer, who was wearing a pink and purple dress, looked playful and cute. Coupled with her arrogant appearance, she looked like a rude and unreasonable young lady, but she had a bit of charm. Bailey Hongzhuang was more mature and elegant. Her beautiful face was cold like ice, revealing a sense of alienation. However, such a Bailey Hongzhuang seemed even more unattainable. Bailey Hongzhuang, I didn't expect you to have some courage. Nangong Yuer sneered. However, you're going to regret your decision now. Bailey Hongzhuang remained unmoved. I've never regretted my decisions. Changing the topic, Bailey Hongzhuang continued. I wonder if there is any enmity between us. Until now, she still didn't understand why Nangong Yuer was looking for trouble with her. If it was for Nangong Xiujie, then Nangong Xiujie should do it himself. Why would he need his sister to come forward? Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang didn't know the reason behind this, Nangong Yuer was even more furious. In this world, there was a kind of grievance where you treated your opponent as an opponent whom you hated to the bone, but the opponent didn't care about your existence at all. This was simply naked contempt. However, Bailey Hongzhuang's puzzled look did not seem to be an act at all. Could it be that this girl did not know that they were rivals in love? You dare to steal my man, you are destined to pay the price. Nangong Yuer didn't want to stop until she was shocked to death. She directly said such domineering words in front of everyone, and she didn't care about the impact her words would have on her. Steal man? Bailey Hongzhuang was slightly stunned. She couldn't help but think about Di Beichen. Did this guy know Nangong Yuer? That guy went to Tiangang sect during this time and did not appear in the Qing dynasty. How could he still cause trouble for her? Chapter 747. Really? Di Beichen's charm is so great. Xia Jiqing couldn't help but sigh. When she thought of Di Beichen, well, she admitted that Di Beichen's charm was indeed great. But this was the Qing dynasty. When did Di Beichen come to the Qing dynasty? Zhang Yunfeng and the others were also puzzled. They racked their brains and did not think that the reason why Nangong Yuer was targeting Hongzhuang was because of this. Dongfang Yu and the others were also speechless. In this regard, they did not know what to say. In the matter of love rivals, the battle between women may be more exaggerated than the battle between men. Nangong Xiujie and Nangong Yujin were also helpless. They could not do anything about Nangong Yuer's outspoken temper. In any case, she was still a princess. Saying such words in broad daylight would affect the honor of the royal family. Jian Qingqiu, Lin Yinghao, and even Huan Chuyu on the high platform were also a little surprised. Previously, Huan Chuyu thought that Lingyin College was deliberately doing this. He did not expect that this was the emotional entanglement between the younger generation. They really did not know what to say. Nangong Yuer Hongzhuang is already married. What do you mean by stealing your man? It is clear that you are the one who is stealing her man, Xia Jiqing said indignantly. What kind of joke was this? The position of the legal wife had to be clarified. Just looking at Nangong Yuer's arrogance, she knew that Nangong Yuer had been pestering Di Beichen. Di Beichen did not like Nangong Yuer at all. When Zhang Yunfeng wanted to stop Xia Jiqing, it was too late. Xia Jiqing's words had already been blurted out. Nangong Yuer had already disregarded her face. Xia Jiqing's words had really turned into a fight between the two of them. The onlookers all looked at each other. They did not expect that the news they had heard was actually true. The cultivators of Lingyin College found it even more difficult to accept. Nangong Yuer had always been a high existence in their minds. Bailey Hongzhuang had already been married, but Nangong Yuer actually wanted to steal Bailey Hongzhuang's man? How could they, who had always regarded Nangong Yuer as a goddess, accept this? Listening to Xia Jiqing's words, Nangong Yuer's face was really ugly. It seemed that what third brother said to her was right. Mo Yunjue actually married Bailey Hongzhuang. She had liked Mo Yunjue for so long, yet she had not heard anything about it. How despicable! Nangong Yuer's eyes flashed with viciousness when she thought of this. She didn't care how good the relationship between Bailey Hongzhuang and Mo Yunjue was. The man that Bailey Hongzhuang had her eyes on would definitely be hers. Bailey Hongzhuang, regardless of whether you are married to him or not, he is destined to be my man. Nangong Yuer raised her chin high. A commoner like Bailey Hongzhuang did not have the qualifications to compete with her at all. Bailey Hongzhuang looked indifferent. Although she did not know what the relationship between Nangong Yuer and Di Beichen was, she was sure that all of this was just Nangong Yuer's wishful thinking. At this time, a black figure appeared near the stage. The man was tall and handsome. As soon as he appeared, he attracted the attention of many people. Young Master Mo. Seeing the appearance of Mo Yunjue, Cui Haoyan and others all smiled. They also had a good impression of this friend they had made in the Qing dynasty. Chapter 748. Gongzi Mo, why are you here? Xia Jiqing asked with a happy smile on her face. I heard that today is the college tournament, so I came to cheer for you. But I was delayed by something at the restaurant, so I came a little late. Listening to Mo Yunjue's words, everyone from the Kanglin College smiled. Mo Yunjue, as a person from the Qing dynasty, did not cheer for Lingyin College, but instead cheered for them. This was indeed beyond their expectations. Cui Haoyan and Dongfang Yu looked at each other. As men, they could almost conclude that Mo Yunjue had a good impression of Bailey Hongzhuang. If not, Mo Yunjue would not have risked offending the two princes to help them. In fact, everything Mo Yunjue did was only for Bailey Hongzhuang. They believed that Mo Yunjue came at the moment to cheer for Bailey Hongzhuang. Even so, Mo Yunjue was also their good friend. Look, Gongzi Mo of the first pavilion is here. He must have come to cheer for Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang is a student of the Kanglin College. I don't know when she got married to Gongzi Mo. It's really strange. I don't know what Gongzi Mo is thinking. The third princess is also very good, but he seems to be unmoved. I think the third princess is very arrogant. If he married her, wouldn't it be like marrying an ancestor? On the contrary, this Bailey Hongzhuang is good. She is more suitable to be a wife. Everyone was talking about this love triangle. They were also very interested in this love triangle. Gong Shaoqing and the others, after hearing the comments of the crowd at the moment, their expressions changed a little. They seemed to have made a mistake? Xia Jiqing and Zhang Yunfeng looked at each other. The man that Nangong Yuer liked should not be Mo Yunjue, right? If this was the case, then this misunderstanding was a big deal. Mo Yunjue had a faint smile on his face as his gaze fell on Bailey Hongzhuang. This woman had always been proud and unyielding. He believed that she would perform well in this exchange. The moment Mo Yunjue appeared, Nangong Yu had already noticed that the man she had been longing for was now focused on Bailey Hongzhuang. Mo Yunjue acted as if he did not see her at all. The smile on his face was all because of Bailey Hongzhuang. Ever since the first pavilion opened in the imperial city, she had seen Mo Yunjue many times. However, she rarely saw Mo Yunjue smile. Most of the time, Mo Yunjue's face was expressionless. She always thought that Mo Yunjue didn't like to smile. Now it seemed that it was not that Mo Yunjue didn't like to smile, but that Mo Yunjue didn't like to smile at her. A crazy jealousy swept through Nangong Yu's heart. She must kill Bailey Hongzhuang. If she couldn't get it, she would never let anyone else get it. Bailey Hongzhuang also felt the crazy murderous intent surging in Nangong Yu's body, but she still did not feel nervous or panic. In fact, she had come into contact with a lot of terrifying murderous intent. The murderous intent shown by Nangong Yu could be described as ordinary. However, Nangong Yu actually wanted to kill her here, which was beyond her expectations. Killing opponents had always been prohibited in the inter-school competition, but it seemed that all these rules were nothing in the eyes of the third princess. She completely ignored all these rules and only did what she wanted to do. Chapter 749. She didn't hate cultivators who had a murderous heart. But for people like Nangong Yu who only cared about their own interests and didn't care about the lives of others, she had always been full of disgust. It was as if just because she was born in the royal family, she was superior and could trample on anyone. Let the battle begin. As the referee's voice fell, Bailey Hongzhuang and Nangong Yu immediately started fighting. Nangong Yu looked coldly at Bailey Hongzhuang. As long as you take the initiative to admit defeat and agree to leave Mo Yunjue, I will let you go, how about it? Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang was slightly stunned. Mo Yunjue? Thinking about what happened in the first tower the day before yesterday, and the whispers between Nangong Yujin and Nangong Yu, Bailey Hongzhuang understood everything. It turned out that the person Nangong Yu was talking about was Mo Yunjue, not Di Baichen. Bailey Hongzhuang's mood quietly improved a little, but, Mo Yunjue, this was a complete misunderstanding. Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at Mo Yunjue below the stage, and then looked at Nangong Yu. She saw that Nangong Yu was still looking high and mighty, as if she gave Bailey Hongzhuang this choice. Bailey Hongzhuang should be grateful to her. In fact, Nangong Yu thought so. Bailey Hongzhuang immediately put away the idea of explaining the misunderstanding. Since Nangong Yu wanted to think this way, then let her be. You think too much. Bailey Hongzhuang's voice was cold. Obviously she didn't intend to pay attention to Nangong Yu's words. She felt that it was better to directly defeat Nangong Yu's arrogance. As soon as these words came out, Nangong Yu's face turned ugly. Bailey Hongzhuang dared to speak to her like this. It was simply unforgivable. Since you insist on seeking your own death, I'll fulfill your wish. Nangong Yu's eyes were gloomy. Usually this kind of person who didn't know what was good for her would end up dead. Bailey Hongzhuang's expression was indifferent and calm. Less nonsense, let's fight. She didn't intend to waste her breath on such a boring thing. Since she wanted to fight, then she would have a good fight. The so-called title of princess was nothing in her eyes. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang daring to challenge her, Nangong Yu's, she didn't expect the ace of the Kanglin College to be such a brainless girl. Everyone below the stage also felt the hostile atmosphere on the stage, and the excitement in their eyes grew stronger and stronger. It seems like this match is Ts. Nai Nangong Tss Yuet Night, Nai Nangong Nn's Nai Nangong Xiujies smiled confidently. He knew what kind of temper Nangong Yu had. From the moment Bailey Hongzhuang and Mo Yunjue had a relationship, she had already been sentenced to death by Nangong Yu. On the martial arts stage, the battle was about to start. The primary energy in Nangong Yu's body burst out, and the power of the second level of the Red Realm burst out clearly. Sensing this tyrannical aura, intense shock surfaced in the eyes of everyone present. Second level of the Red Realm. The third princess has broken through to the second level of the Red Realm. Oh my God, the third princess has already broken through to the second level of the Red Realm at such a young age. Her talent and potential are so great. Chapter 750. When Nangong Yuer's aura broke out, almost everyone had already determined that Nangong Yuer would win this battle. Breaking through to the second stage of the Red Realm at such a young age, Nangong Yuer's talent was amazing. What's more, it was said that Bailey Hongzhuang was a month younger than Nangong Yuer. It was impossible for Bailey Hongzhuang to be the opponent of Nangong Yuer. Jian Qingqiu's face also showed a touch of joy. Previously, Nangong Yuer was still at the first stage of the Red Realm. He did not expect her to break through to the second stage of the Red Realm. It was really an unexpected surprise. As long as Nangong Yuer defeated Bailey Hongzhuang, then this time the Kanglan College was doomed to not get a good result. However, compared to the excitement of the Lingyin College, the practitioners of the Kanglan College were unusually calm. It's really a group of people who have never seen the world. They think that they will win when they are at the second stage of the Red Realm. Our Hongzhuang is abnormal. Xia Jiqing's eyes flashed with excitement. She knew that Hongzhuang had also reached the second stage of the Red Realm. Nangong Yuer's cultivation talent was not weak, but Hongzhuang's cultivation talent was stronger. Just wait and see, Hongzhuang will definitely win. Zhang Yunfeng's eyes were full of trust. From the beginning to the end, they were not worried that Bailey Hongzhuang would lose. Nangong Xiujie and the others wanted to see the panic of the Kanglan College practitioners, but found that they did not react at all. They could not help but have doubts in their eyes. Do they think that Bailey Hongzhuang has a chance to win? Nangong Xiujie secretly thought. With Yuer's talent, she could almost beat the practitioners of the same age. Not to mention that Bailey Hongzhuang was a few months younger than Yuer. Listening to Nangong Xiujie's words, Nangong Yujin immediately dispelled his thoughts. Second brother, don't joke, this is impossible. I heard that Bailey Hongzhuang obtained the inheritance in the ruins, maybe. Second brother, don't worry, the cultivators of Kanglan College are just pretending to be calm. Maybe Yuer is putting too much pressure on them, and they haven't reacted yet. Nangong Yujin's face was filled with a smile of victory. The principal had praised Yuer as a genius, and her talent was outstanding enough for her age. It was impossible for a barren place like the Kanglan School to cultivate a cultivator more powerful than Yuer. He was afraid that the Kanglan School's cultivators would reach the end of the second round. Speaking of which, he was really quite pitiful. Song Hongxi couldn't help but look at Huan Chuyu. This Bailey Hongzhuang is really stupid. As long as Bailey Hongzhuang did not agree, then Lingyin College would not force Bailey Hongzhuang to play. In this way, Bailey Hongzhuang might be able to advance to the next round. However, Bailey Hongzhuang chose this way to court death, so it could only end here. However, Song Hongxi saw that Huan Chuyu was still calm, as if everything in front of him did not cause him much surprise. Seeing this, Song Hongxi also sneered. Deliberately mystifying. Even if Huan Chuyu pretended to be confident, when the result came out, he would like to see how calm Huan Chuyu would be. Chapter 751. Second level of the Red Realm. An aura no weaker than Nangong Yuer's erupted from Bailey Hongzhuang's body. Faintly, everyone seemed to have an illusion that Bailey Hongzhuang's aura was stronger than Nangong Yuer's. How could this be? Everyone gasped. Nangong Yuer was a well-deserved genius. She had broken through to the second level of the Red Realm at such a young age. How could Bailey Hongzhuang do it? What's more, Bailey Hongzhuang was younger than Nangong Yuer. Didn't this mean that Bailey Hongzhuang's talent was stronger than Nangong Yuer's? At this thought, everyone looked at each other and did not know what to say. Nangong Yuer looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in astonishment. She could not believe that Bailey Hongzhuang had reached such a level of cultivation. She had only broken through to the second level of the Red Realm a few days ago. Didn't this mean that Bailey Hongzhuang's cultivation talent was stronger than hers? Instinctively, Nangong Yuer felt that she could not accept it. Her original sense of superiority was quietly defeated. In this way, it meant that the two of them were standing on the same starting line. No one knew the final outcome. Bailey Hongzhuang looked indifferent. It seemed that to her, the second level of the Red Realm was not something to be proud of. Compared to the two, Nangong Yuer's mood was even worse. Bailey Hongzhuang's attitude was even more annoying. Even if you have reached the second level of the Red Realm, you are still no match for me. Soon, Nangong Yuer found her confidence. That was her confidence as a princess of the imperial family. The imperial family's heritage was incomparable to others. Bailey Hongzhuang, who was born ordinary, could not be compared to her in terms of martial arts or other aspects. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Nangong Yuer coldly. You talk too much nonsense. As soon as she said this, Nangong Yuer was even angrier. Did this damn woman not understand the gap between the two of them? Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Nangong Yuer was infuriated. She charged forward and gathered her origin energy in her hands. Without hesitation, she attacked Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang didn't react by retreating. Instead, she punched out with both fists without flinching. Bang bang bang! Their fists and legs collided, and a fierce chi burst forth. Nangong Yuer's every move was ruthless, mercilessly attacking Bailey Hongzhuang's vital parts. Bailey Hongzhuang's almond-shaped eyes narrowed as intense disgust surfaced in her eyes. The jade training body lingered around her body as a sparkling and translucent glow appeared on her pure white skin. Bang! Their fists collided again. Nangong Yuer felt as if her hands had hit steel. She felt a burning pain. On the other hand, Bailey Hongzhuang remained unmoved. It was as if she was not affected at all. Damn it! How could Bailey Hongzhuang's strength be so tyrannical? Nangong Yuer was unhappy, but she refused to admit defeat. She said coldly, "How barbaric! I can't compare to you." Bailey Hongzhuang retorted. Obviously, this barbaric was not the same. Nangong Yuer's expression turned ugly. She couldn't wait to tear Bailey Hongzhuang to shreds. Bang bang bang! Bailey Hongzhuang didn't give Nangong Yuer any chance to retreat. Her tyrannical and fierce attacks landed on Nangong Yuer's body. Under Bailey Hongzhuang's attacks, Nangong Yuer retreated step by step. She couldn't fight back at all. Chapter 752. Ta ta ta. Nangong Yuer took a few steps back and pulled away from Bailey Hongzhuang. Her pretty face was pale. She didn't expect Bailey Hongzhuang's physical strength to be so strong. It seemed that she couldn't compete with Bailey Hongzhuang in strength. Nangong Xiujie and Nangong Yujin were surprised. They knew Nangong Yuer's strength, but they didn't expect that she would be at a disadvantage when facing Bailey Hongzhuang. It seemed that Bailey Hongzhuang's strength was not simple. Previously, because Lu Jinglin's strength was too weak, they couldn't test Bailey Hongzhuang's strength. On the contrary, they underestimated Bailey Hongzhuang. The next moment, Nangong Yuer took out a fiery red sword. The body of the sword was fiery red and the engravings were even more exquisite. Under the sun, it shone with a cold light. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang raised her hand and the glass sword also appeared in her hand. Nangong Yuer didn't delay and rushed towards Bailey Hongzhuang. She had already tested her before, and she wanted to win back the previous game. Ding ding ding! The two of them flew out, and the sound of metal clashing spread out. Everyone could only see the two of them moving like the wind, with pinkish purple and white light constantly crisscrossing. Sword cheese shot out, and even the hard ground was pierced with finger-sized holes. Sparks flew everywhere. Even if they weren't in the battle, everyone could still feel the danger of the battle. If they were careless, they would be seriously injured. Rainbow sword! Nangong Yuer shouted coldly and the vigorous energy poured into the sword. Then, a tyrannical sword burst out from the long sword and shot towards Bailey Hongzhuang. Feeling the power of the sword, everyone had no doubt that once Bailey Hongzhuang was hit by this martial skill, even if she didn't die, she would be seriously injured. Shadowless kill. Bailey Hongzhuang's movements were not slow at all. The moment Nangong Yu unleashed her martial skill, she also unleashed her martial skill. Everyone only saw a silver light flash by, but they didn't see the martial skill Bailey Hongzhuang used, and they couldn't help but feel puzzled. It couldn't be that Bailey Hongzhuang was just talking, but didn't do anything, right? Bailey Hongzhuang's figure flashed and dodged Nangong Yu's attack. When the sword chi hit the ground, a 10-meter-long crack appeared on the ground. Seeing this scene, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. The imperial family's martial techniques were indeed worthy of their reputation. Fortunately, Bailey Hongzhuang dodged quickly enough, otherwise only a corpse would be left. Ah! A sharp scream resounded. Everyone looked at Nangong Yu. Blood had started to seep out of Nangong Yu's chest, and the scream had come from Nangong Yu. Feeling the pain in her chest, Nangong Yu's face was extremely ugly. She didn't expect that Bailey Hongzhuang would be able to hurt her in this battle. The most important thing was that she didn't understand when Bailey Hongzhuang attacked her. After everyone noticed the blood that was quickly oozing out of Nangong Yu's chest, they looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with a completely different gaze. Who would have thought that the winner of this battle would be Bailey Hongzhuang? You dare to hurt me? Nangong Yu raised her voice. No one had ever dared to hurt her in Lingyin College. Chapter 753. If the third princess is afraid of getting hurt, it is better not to participate in this competition. Bailey Hongzhuang's expression was indifferent. Even if Nangong Yu's cultivation talent was very good, with her temperament, it would be impossible for her to achieve much on the road of cultivation in the future. It was difficult to improve one's strength without walking on the edge of life and death. Walking on the edge of life and death meant experiencing risks, but Nangong Yu couldn't even bear to be injured. It would be strange if her future achievements were great. Damn! Hongzhuang is really amazing. What kind of trash princess only knows how to talk nonsense? In fact, she has no real ability at all. Xia Jiqing's face was full of excitement. She didn't expect that Nangong Yu, who had said so many harsh words before, was not the opponent of Hongzhuang at all. It was ridiculous. Zhang Yunfeng and the others also showed a smile on their faces. The royal children were not necessarily so good. At least this Nangong Yu was too spoiled and could not be regarded as a real cultivator. Nangong Yu only cultivated in the academy and the royal family. She has never really fought. Although her cultivation is good, her combat power is not comparable to the cultivators of the same level. Even if her martial arts level is quite strong, as long as the other party has a certain amount of experience, she will be helpless. Gong Shaoqing's eyes flashed with a wise light. There were many such cultivators in the royal family. Sometimes, the better the family background, the worse the combat power of the cultivator may be, because they were reluctant to die. You are right, this is the drawback of the royal children. Mo Yunjue nodded slowly. Gong Shaoqing saw the key to the problem at a glance. Young Master Mo, you have been in the Qing dynasty for so long, do you know if the crown prince is the same as Nangong Yu? Bai Junyu couldn't help but ask. They only heard that Nangong Aochen's strength was unusually strong, but they didn't know if Nangong Aochen had the same temperament as Nangong Yu. If Nangong Aochen was the same, then they didn't need to worry. However, Mo Yunjue shook his head. Nangong Aochen is known as the best crown prince of the Qing dynasty. Whether it is strength, temperament or character, they are all excellent. He's completely different from Nangong Yu's arrogance and willfulness. He's neither arrogant nor rash. Furthermore, he's very hard-working in his cultivation. He's a truly formidable opponent. Following Mo Yunjue's words, everyone's expression turned serious. They didn't expect Nangong Aochen to be so powerful. It looked like it would be extremely difficult for them to obtain victory in this academy exchange. In any case, I believe in Hong Zhuang's strength. Xia Jiqing stubbornly believed in Bailey Hong Zhuang. She always felt that Hong Zhuang would not lose. Everyone was helpless about Xia Jiqing's belief in Bailey Hong Zhuang. They were afraid that in Xia Jiqing's eyes, Bailey Hong Zhuang was an invincible general. Nangong Yujin and Nangong Xiujie did not expect that Nangong Yu'er would be seriously injured by Bailey Hong Zhuang. With Nangong Yu'er's temper, they were afraid that this battle would not continue. I didn't expect Bailey Hong Zhuang to really have some skills. Nangong Xiujie's eyes narrowed slightly, and a flash of interest flashed through his eyes. No matter how strong Bailey Hong Zhuang was, she would definitely be defeated by him. Yu'er's temper is a big weakness. If she can fight desperately, Bailey Hong Zhuang will not be able to win. However, Yu'er has always been unable to stand pain. Chapter 754. Bailey Hong Zhuang wins. With the order of the referee, Bailey Hong Zhuang won the competition and successfully advanced to the next round. Bailey Hong Zhuang looked indifferent as she walked down the platform. There was no trace of pride on her face. Such a result was not enough for her to be proud of. Nangong Yu'er directly left Lingyin College to deal with her injuries. Before leaving, the light in her eyes became more and more intense. The Qing dynasty was her territory. Bailey Hong Zhuang stole her man and dared to hurt her. She would never let Bailey Hong Zhuang leave the Qing dynasty alive. Bailey Hong Zhuang did not hear the threat of Nangong Yu'er. If such a boring threat was useful, she would have died many times. Unfortunately, there were many people in the world who wanted her to die, but in the end they were the ones who died. Master, this bullshit princess is too annoying. You should just kill her to save yourself the trouble. Xiao Hei's eyes flashed with anger. She was just a princess of a kingdom. She dared to threaten her master. She was simply looking for death. Yes, that guy will definitely cause trouble in the future. It is better to kill her and eliminate all future troubles. Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai were both ruthless people. They were never sloppy. The wildfire could not be blown away, but it would grow again when the spring breeze blew. For the guy who might cause trouble, their idea had always been to eliminate the root. The dark phoenix eyes flashed with a cold light. Bailey Hong Zhuang smiled faintly. You can rest assured. When have I ever been soft on the enemy? Listening to Bailey Hong Zhuang's words, Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai's eyes lit up. According to the master's words, did it mean that she had already started? Without waiting for Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai to ask, Bailey Hong Zhuang had already walked back to the team of Kanglin College. Seeing Bailey Hong Zhuang come back, Xia Jiqing was the first to rush up. Hong Zhuang, you are amazing. Nangong Yu'er is just a coward on the inside. She doesn't have much combat power. Bailey Hong Zhuang said slowly. Previously, when she saw how proud Nangong Yu'er was, she thought that Nangong Yu'er was very powerful. After all, some cultivators with powerful backgrounds were also very powerful. However, he didn't expect that Nangong Yu'er was just a facade. If she had known earlier, she wouldn't have wasted so much time and could have finished the battle long ago. Hearing Bailey Hong Zhuang's judgment, Mo Yunjue's eyes were filled with admiration. Just by comparing Bailey Hong Zhuang and Nangong Yu'er was completely at a disadvantage. Ruan Yulong's face was very ugly. He did not expect that Bailey Hong Zhuang's strength had also reached the second level of the Red Realm. If he had known, he would not have facilitated the fight between the two. As Nangong Yu'er's mentor, he was also very familiar with Nangong Yu'er's strength. Although Nangong Yu'er's cultivation was at the second level of the Red Realm, it was achieved with the accumulation of countless cultivation resources. There was still a certain gap between her and some stable cultivators. However, after all, cultivation represented a certain strength. As long as the opponent's cultivation was weaker than hers, Nangong Yu'er's chances of winning were very high. Who would have thought that Bailey Hongzhuang was also a cultivator at the second level of the Red Realm? Damn it! I can't see through Bailey Hongzhuang's cultivation. Chapter 755. In fact, since Bailey Hongzhuang started practicing the demon summoning scripture, others could not directly detect her cultivation unless she exposed it during the battle. It was precisely because of this that Ruan Yulong had made Lingyin College lose the competition. Jian Qingqiu's face was very ugly. Originally, Nangong Yuer was sure to win the game, but she had to challenge Bailey Hongzhuang. It was fine if the challenge was successful, but now they had lost. Not only did they lose a game, but they were also seen as a joke by others. As the principal of Lingyin College, he also had no face. Jian Qingqiu couldn't help but look at Ruan Yulong. Ruan Yulong was even more shocked. He had been punished before and had just come out today. He did not expect such a thing to happen again. He was afraid that the principal would not let him go. At the thought of this, Ruan Yulong's heart was cold. He did not expect that he would be so unlucky. The smile in Huan Chuyou's eyes widened a little. It was really a blessing for Kanglan College to be able to recruit Bailey Hongzhuang. Long before they left, he and Ren Tianxiong were already mentally prepared, but they did not expect Bailey Hongzhuang's performance to be so amazing. Maybe there was still a glimmer of hope. After Tsang Hongxi saw Jian Qingqiu's ugly face, he was actually a little happy. Even if he and Lingyin College were in the same camp, because of the previous defeat of Beihai College, Jian Qingqiu did not give him any face. Now that Lingyin College had lost a game, Beihai College was able to get back this one. It was really satisfying. The second game, Gong Shaoqing against Xue Haolang. As Lin Yinghao's voice fell, Gong Shaoqing and Xue Haolang both walked towards the stage. Gong Shaoqing, come on. Bailey Hongzhuang's face was filled with a bright smile. She believed that Gong Shaoqing would be able to win this game. Gong Shaoqing nodded slightly and walked up the stage with his head held high. His calm appearance also made everyone's eyes light up. With Gong Shaoqing's temperament and appearance, he would be the focus of everyone's attention in the college. Even in Lingyin College, there were many female students who noticed him. Compared to Gong Shaoqing, who was full of confidence, Xue Haolang was very depressed. His previous actions caused him to be reprimanded by his mentor. He was already in a bad mood, but now he was even worse. Looking at the weapon in his hand, he was no longer as proud as before. On the contrary, he even regretted using the inscription. Otherwise, how could he fall into such a situation? Bailey Hongzhuang slowly walked to Mo Yunjue's side, her phoenix eyes slightly raised. Gongzi Mo, because of you, I was inexplicably targeted by Nangong Yu. Hearing this, Mo Yunjue's lips curled into a smile. I helped you once, and you also helped me solve a problem. Is this considered a draw? And you didn't help me that day because you wanted me to help you get rid of this trouble, did you? Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes narrowed slightly, and there was a flash of wisdom in her eyes. If it weren't for the existence of Nangong Xiujie and Nangong Yujin, Nangong Yu would not know what happened a few days ago. Chapter 756. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. It was absolutely impossible to say that Mo Yunjue was not smart enough. However, no matter what purpose Mo Yunjue had for helping her, help was help, and they were helping each other. Thinking about it, with Nangong Yu's skill of pestering people, Mo Yunjue's days were not very good. The situation was just as Bailey Hongzhuang thought. Gong Shaoqing's strength was very strong. Even if Xue Haolang was in his peak state, he may not be Gong Shaoqing's opponent, not to mention Xue Haolang's current state was very bad. Under such circumstances, Xue Haolang's failure was almost certain. With just a simple exchange of blows, everyone had already determined the outcome. The two mentors of Beihai College were very anxious after seeing this scene, but now that the competition had begun, even if they were anxious, there was no use. Sang Hongxi's face was also very ugly. In the first round, the performance of Beihai College was already unsatisfactory. If Xue Haolang also lost this round, then the situation would be even more unfavorable. Boom! With a sweep of Gong Xiaoqing's foot, Xue Haolang's body fell heavily to the ground. Just as he was about to stand up, Gong Xiaoqing's sword had already appeared in front of him. Gong Xiaoqing wins. The referee immediately announced the result. The outcome of this battle was very clear. As soon as the voice fell, Xue Haolang's whole person seemed to have lost his strength. His expression was blank and his mood was even more depressed. He was no longer as high-spirited as before. Before the beginning of the college exchange, how could he have thought of such an ending? Recalling all the ridicule he had for the cultivators of Kanglan College, now he only felt that he was the real joke. Gong Xiaoqing slowly walked down the platform. In the second round of the promotion tournament, Kanglan College had won 2 consecutive victories. This result undoubtedly amazed many people. Previously, I only heard that the cultivators of Kanglan College were very garbage. Now I feel that Beihai College is really bad. That's right, Xue Haolang was so happy before, but now he was directly defeated. The more proud he is, the more weak he is. This time, Kanglan College will be able to hold its head high. Song Hongshi's face became very ugly, but Huan Chuyo's face was filled with a faint smile. In the past, Song Hongxi was always proud of himself at this time, but this year, the situation had changed. Gong Xiaoqing, this battle is really decisive. Dongfang Yu patted Gong Xiaoqing's chest. Seeing his brother achieve such a result, he also felt happy. Xue Haolang isn't in the right state at all. He's just lucky. Gong Xiaoqing's expression was indifferent. He also did not use his full strength in this match. It could only be said that his luck in these 2 matches was very good. Dongfang, Nangong Xiujie is not easy to deal with. You have to be more careful in the next match. Hearing this, Dongfang Yu nodded slightly. I understand. Nangong Xiujie is already in the Xiantian realm. It is basically impossible for me to defeat him. Feeling everyone's worried gazes, Dongfang Yu appeared very free and easy. Don't worry, I'll treat this competition as a learning experience. Being able to fight with a Xiantian realm cultivator is also a good learning experience. Chapter 757. In fact, when they knew that Dongfang Yu's opponent was Nangong Xiujie, they already knew that this was a losing battle. Nangong Xiujie's cultivation was higher than Dongfang Yu's. Coupled with the background of the royal family, Dongfang Yu had no chance of winning. According to the thoughts of Lingyin College, Nangong Xiujie would definitely be able to enter the finals. It could only be said that Dongfang Yu's luck was not good enough. The third game, Dongfang Yu against Nangong Xiujie. As the voice of the referee fell, Dongfang Yu and Nangong Xiujie stepped onto the stage together. On the stage, Nangong Xiujie's eyes fell on Bailey Hongzhuang. Regardless of whether what Mo Yunjue said was true or false, he and Bailey Hongzhuang had already formed a grudge. Originally, he hoped that he would be able to face Bailey Hongzhuang in this match, but he did not expect that she would take the lead in challenging him. Since his current opponent was also a cultivator of Kanglan College, he would first take some interest from Dongfang Yu. Feeling the provocative gaze of Nangong Xiujie, Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but have a touch of worry in her eyes. With Nangong Xiujie's narrow-mindedness, she was afraid that there would be a change in this game. The match begins. The referee waved his hand, and Dongfang Yu and Nangong Xiujie began to fight. Nangong Xiujie did not hesitate at all and directly rushed towards Dongfang Yu. The strength of the third level of the Red Realm completely broke out and attacked Dongfang Yu. Feeling the powerful strength of Nangong Xiujie, Dongfang Yu's eyes also showed a touch of nervousness. The strength gap between the two was too big. He was afraid that even if he used all his skills, it would be difficult to resist Nangong Xiujie's attacks. Boom! Dongfang Yu was hit by Nangong Xiujie's palm. His handsome face instantly turned pale, but he did not fall down. Even if he was defeated, he had to exert some of his strength. At least, he had worked hard. However, what happened next made the eyes of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others filled with anger. On the high platform, Nangong Xiujie was deliberately playing with Dongfang Yu, constantly attacking Dongfang Yu, but not letting Dongfang Yu completely lose the power to fight. It was like a cat playing with a mouse, treating Dongfang Yu as a plaything. It was no different from trampling on Dongfang Yu's dignity. Even if Dongfang Yu tried his best, he still couldn't hurt Nangong Xiujie. His face became extremely ugly. Even though he already knew that Nangong Xiujie was playing with him like a monkey, he had no other way. Because he couldn't directly admit defeat. Seeing this scene, the faces of everyone present became extremely ugly. The faces of everyone from the Kanglin College were filled with anger. Damn it! This Nangong Xiujie is a bastard. Xia Jiqing's eyes were burning with anger. This method was too much. I really want to rush up and tear this bastard apart. Bai Junyu was also very impulsive. This method was not only an insult to Dongfang Yu's strength, but also a trampling on his dignity. It was even likely that after this battle, Dongfang Yu would not even have the faith to continue on the road of cultivation. Because Nangong Xiujie was using this method to break Dongfang Yu's heart. Bailey Hongzhuang's dark eyes were stained with cold light. She clenched her hands into fists. Chapter 758. A smile appeared on Nangong Yujin's face. He had long known that his second brother would not easily let go of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, but he did not think that his second brother's method would be so original that he could not help but applaud. For those fellows who thought they had some strength and did not know the immensity of heaven and earth, they had to use such a humiliating method to let them understand how big the gap between them was. Offending them is the same as courting death. Boom! After Nangong Xiujie got bored of playing with Dongfang Yu for a while, he directly kicked Dongfang Yu off the stage. Dongfang Yu clutched his chest, his face was pale, and his forehead was covered with sweat. He stubbornly looked at the high figure on the stage. Nangong Xiujie, you are going too far. Before he stepped on the stage, he was already mentally prepared, but Nangong Xiujie's move was really beyond his expectations. He already knew the gap between him and Nangong Xiujie, but Nangong Xiujie's method was undoubtedly a naked humiliation. He completely trampled on his dignity and did not leave him the slightest face. Nangong Xiujie's mouth evoked a sneer. He did not care about Dongfang Yu's accusation. He lazily and disdainfully glanced at Dongfang Yu and mocked, "Trash, you don't deserve to have dignity." When his voice fell, Nangong Xiujie did not even bother to look at Dongfang Yu. He turned around and walked towards the team of Lingyin College. Only Dongfang Yu's face was pale. Nangong Xiujie's words were tantamount to leaving a heavy blow in his heart. Lu Huayan and Fu Hongbo immediately rushed to Dongfang Yu's side and helped him up from the ground. Looking at Dongfang Yu's soulless appearance, Lu Huayan and Fu Hongbo's eyes flashed with anger. Dongfang Yu had always been a student they were proud of. As long as 2 more years passed, Dongfang Yu would definitely become a powerful cultivator. But Dongfang Yu's actions almost destroyed his self-confidence. As mentors, how could they bear it? A cold glint appeared in Huan Chuyo's eyes. Under his sleeves, his hands were tightly clenched into fists. This was no longer a competition, but an insult to his dignity. Jian Qingqiu was also surprised by this scene, but there was a smile in his eyes. Nangong Xiujie had used this method to prove to everyone that there was a huge gap between the practitioners of the Kanglin College and the practitioners of the Lingyin College. There was also a faint smile on Sang Hongxi's face. Previously, because of the performance of Xue Haolang and Lu Jinglin, he had lost some face. Now, the Kanglin College had lost even more face. With this comparison, he felt much better in his heart. In the next moment, Jian Qingqiu slowly turned around. The smile in his eyes disappeared, and a trace of hypocritical apology appeared on his face. "Old Huan, I'm really sorry." Nangong Xiujia's character is like this. I hope you can forgive him. Principal Jian, this is merely an exchange between the academies. Aren't your actions a little too much? Huan Chuyu said in a low voice. Although his face did not show the slightest emotion, everyone knew that Huan Chuyu was in a very bad mood. The purpose of the Kanglin College was not the same as that of the Lingyin College and the Beihai College. What they valued the most was not the results, but the practitioners themselves. Chapter 759. Old Huan, why are you so serious? Jian Qingqiu smiled faintly, and there was a bit of indifference in his expression. Accidents can happen in this competition. There is nothing wrong with Nangong Xiujia's means. What's more, your student is not seriously injured. Listening to Jian Qingqiu's words, Huan Chuyu's eyes flashed with coldness. He knew what kind of temper Jian Qingqiu had. This so-called apology was just a pretense. It was precisely because of this that he was disgusted with Jian Qingqiu's hypocritical appearance. If Principal Jian thinks so, then I have nothing to say. Huan Chuyu's tone was also not good. Anyone who encountered this kind of thing would not be in a good mood. The one who was hurt was his student. Naturally, he would not easily let this matter pass. Seeing Huan Chuyu's posture, Jian Qingqiu's eyes also showed a touch of disdain, but his expression was still indifferent. Nangong Xiujia was born like this. What's more, it is understandable that geniuses have some personalities. If someone can kick Nangong Xiujia off the stage like this, I will have no opinion. As soon as these words came out, Huan Chuyu was even angrier. Jian Qingqiu's words were undoubtedly showing off. He looked down on the Kanglin College. No one could defeat Nangong Xiujia. Principal Jian, it's always good to be low-key. Otherwise, one day you will fall miserably. Huan Chuyu stood up and ignored Jian Qingqiu. He did not want to sit here anymore. If he continued to sit here, he would feel disgusted. Immediately, he did not hesitate to walk towards the Kanglin College team. Seeing Huan Chuyu's move, Jian Qingqiu's eyes also showed a touch of surprise, and then a sneer climbed on his face. Nowadays, the Kanglin College's temper is getting worse and worse. I'm afraid they know they will lose, so they will break the jar. Jian Qingqiu sneered. Today's Kanglin College has been going downhill. In the future, it may be completely removed from the Shengxian continent. I'm afraid the Kanglin College thinks they can make a comeback in this college exchange. I don't think they have any real ability. They are dreaming. Song Hongxi chuckled. Jian Qingqiu and Song Hongxi looked at each other, and both of them laughed. What they wanted was the Kanglin College to lose face. Dongfang Yu was supported back to the group by Lu Huayan and Fu Hongbo. However, Dongfang Yu's entire person seemed very lonely. His always sunny face was now filled with blankness, and his shining eyes were now dim. Dongfang Yu, cheer up. One failure is nothing. Lu Huayan said. However, Dongfang Yu was as if he didn't hear it. His eyes. Ever since he started cultivating, he had never suffered such humiliation. His entire being seemed to have suffered a huge blow, and he was unable to extricate himself from it. At this moment, Huan Chuyu also came to Dongfang Yu's side. After seeing Dongfang Yu's expression, he realized that the situation was not good. As the vice principal, he had seen this kind of situation before. If Dongfang Yu couldn't adjust himself from this state, then he would be crippled. Go. Let's take him. Huan Chuyu made a prompt decision. The current noisy environment was extremely unfavorable for Dongfang Yu. He had to think of a way to cheer him up.